Welcome back. Last month we had a chance to take a look at how technology tools can help us start having our students meet the science practices. And this month we're going to continue that by taking a look at some of my favorite topics, um, having students learn how to interpret data and conduct an analysis, and how to use computational thinking as a part of their problem solving strategy. It's really just a way for students to think about how to solve a problem, but it becomes so important because once they learn that process, very similar to using the scientific method, they're going to be so much stronger in their problem solving skills. So let's take a look at some technology tools that can help us allow students to meet these standards.
This month, we're taking a look at the second part of our series, Mastering the Next Generation Science Practices with Technology, and we start with analyzing and interpreting data. Well, before you can actually analyze the data, you need to consider how you might even collect it. So, we're going to talk about some sensors for a few moments. Both Pasco and Vernier allow you to take measurements almost anywhere you want and really in a variety of different quantities. You really have to go and explore. In this case, we're on the Pasco site. You can see they have their pictures of their sensors, and they generally come in three different styles. The old models connect to Science Workshop interfaces. Newer ones connect via their Passport sensors. And then finally, they now have a wireless edition that you can see. All of these are force sensors. They work very much the same, but they connect in different ways, and so you can accommodate along a lot of different lines. In this case, here's Vernier's list of sensors, and you can see that you can measure just about anything you would want. So you really need to go and explore their types of interfaces. Now, connecting them, in this case, Vernier or Pasco will allow you to connect via air links. So you can connect any current sensor that you have into the air link, and it will connect to your device via Bluetooth. So whether it's a Chromebook or an iPad or a computer, you can connect them. You can also connect via USB through their SparkLink Air. For Vernier, they have what they call LabQuests, and then they have GoLinks, which connect via USB, and they also have sensors that will connect directly to your device wirelessly. So it gives you a lot of options in how you may want to work. Now, once you have that data, you're going to want to put it into a spreadsheet perhaps. And while at one time Excel was really the go-to place for spreadsheets, we've really moved into a newer style where students can work online using Google Sheets or other online spreadsheet tools. And these tools work very much like Excel did. Like if I hit in equals and I have a list of numbers there, if I start to type in average, it will give me a chance to highlight those cells, and I can hit enter, and it'll give me the average of all those numbers. I could go back and I could type in median or whatever type of formula I may want. If I want to add them up, I might hit sum. And so this can allow us to do lots of different analysis, but the power, the real power behind this type of work is that students can share their work. So as you see, you have that share button. Right now this is private only to me, but I could share to my students. I could create a document where students input their data, and we would create a pooled set of data that everybody could access. And that will allow us to focus more on the analysis and the interpretation of the data. And if everybody has the same data, it might be interesting to compare the types of analysis that they do and the interpretations that they get. Of course, we're also going to want to make graphs from this, and while I could put in additional data and I could go to insert chart, so this is one way to do this. But spreadsheets might be a little bit complex for elementary or younger students, even middle school students, and so there are some online tools like Create a Graph. So in Create a Graph, if you want to create a line graph, you can simply click on it, and then it will give you places where you can, tabs down the side where you can put in your data, You can put in your graph title, your axis labels, things like that, and you can go through and enter all of that data online. Plotly is another one, and in this case you can create an account where you can save all of your work. If you're looking for something that might be a little bit more robust, there's also something called Desmos. Desmos essentially creates a graphing calculator right online for you. So if I wanted to plot a function, like I might say 3x, see it gives me a line. I can put in plus 2 and it moves the line. And in this way I can quickly, I could add another item on. Okay, so I could say, well, I want to put another expression in, and so maybe I put in y equals negative 3x plus 2, and I can see, like, well, how are they different? How are they the same? And I can start to do comparisons. So when we go to analyze or interpret the data, this is a great tool to be able to use. And again, you can create an account and sign in. Now, because I've started down this path, I thought I would show you that in Chrome, which is the browser that I'm currently using, you can go to the Chrome Web Store. And so for me, if I click on Apps, right here, you see I have the grid and I have apps, and the Web Store will be one of those apps. And there are a whole host of tools that you can use. So for example, graphical analysis is a free tool within Chrome. So it runs like it's its own unique application, but it will run on Chromebooks this way. So you can see this is the start place for it. So I could connect sensors, and I could work in here via Wi-Fi or USB. I can put my own information in. I can create graphs right here in graphical analysis, and it's a very easy to use tool that allows you to collect data with your probes or do all of your graphing. And because it runs inside the browser, it's available on Chromebooks. So if I go back to the Chrome Web Store and I click on that, like I could type in graphical analysis, and when I hit return, I get these tools. What you'll see is there are different flavors, things like apps and extension. Apps are separate applications. Extensions are things that run right here within your browser window. So you can see I've already added, that's why it says rate it, but if I really wanted to import a different graphing challenge or graphing app, I would just hit add to Chrome. Now, other ways that you can do some things with spreadsheets and graphs is to use things called add-ons. So you'll notice I've jumped back all the way into my spreadsheet that I have in Google Docs. And right now I'm going to click on the add-ons button, and you can see that I've already installed several add-ons. Like Flubaroo is great for being able to create a quiz for students as a form, and then when students enter their answers, it'll actually email them their results. But I wanted to focus on GMath. So GMath will allow me to create math expressions that I can actually put into my spreadsheet. So when I click on it, these add-ons will open up on the side, and you can see, like, I can type in things, edit the active cell, and then I can insert that expression. If I were to close this off and change this to a different add-on, I could go to create a graph. And so this is a different way to create a graph that might perhaps be a little bit more robust. I could put in the expressions here, and then I can insert into the active cell, and that will give me a nice picture of those 3 different lines that are represented right here, so that again I can start to do comparison and analysis of the types of activities that we're taking a look at. So those are some powerful ways to do things. You'll notice that I have to get add-ons here. I don't go through the Chrome Store, although it looks very much like the Chrome Store. When I click add-ons, I can search for different add-ons here. And so there's the GMath one, there's Flubaroo, and there are others that are here, but you can't get to them through the Chrome Store. You have to go through your actual spreadsheet. So when we think about what's going on here, the next piece of the puzzle might be to think about computational thinking. And I would just point out that there's a set of computational thinking, at least the definition, and what the characteristics of them are. And these are very closely aligned to the next generation science standards and would definitely be worth a look for you. And so to get to these computational thinking standards, you would just Google computational thinking and you can take a look at what's going on there. Now, this is a process for solving problems. It's the way we want students to use digital tools to represent data or patterns of their data. So some of the tools that we might think about are things like Prezi, which is a different type of presentation tool. And you can see I have Prezis that I have here for myself or my students, and it's a different way to flow through a presentation. So it gives you an overall picture, but allows you to zoom in and then zoom in further and then move on. Another type of way to present this data or to be able to look at it is something called Padlet. Padlet is sort of an online corkboard where you can put in a little note that you would pin there. You simply double click and you can put in your title and then you can write something here. What you'll notice is there's a whole host of tools that you can use. So you can use your microphone, you can use your camera, you can attach a file, so you can take video or still images, and you can attach documents. And in this case, you can see, maybe we would take a screenshot of a graph and put it in and explain what it is that we think is happening within an experiment, or we can include pictures. So there are all different ways that we could use Padlet in terms of our analysis, our interpretation, but also the way we use mathematics as a way of our thought process as we work through this. So these tools tend to lend themselves to team-oriented projects, which we want to get to, but also allowing students to make that metacognitive process of how they think through things apparent. Once you could have students put in different areas of the scientific method, and then you could have them reorganize their board in different ways by moving things around. This is also a great way for students to construct their explanation. So as we look through and we think about how we might do conclusions, here's a sample conclusion, and students just write stuff out. But what I would point out is that you could ask students to say, underline a claim and then boldface their evidence. So and if they get through to a point where they say, well, I have a claim, but I don't have anything that I can boldface, then perhaps that's a problem. So these tools right here, italics and boldface and underlining, and even using text colors, can be effective ways to have students share their document and then work with a partner to see if they can identify the key pieces of that conclusion or their solution that they've designed. In addition, don't forget that you can insert comments. And so if you insert a comment, it will appear over to the side and it will let them know that you are adding the comment. So I add it, and then a person can come in and they can reply to my comment, and then we eventually can mark it as resolved. So hopefully you've had a chance to see how we can get towards some of the scientific practices through the use of digital tools.
So hopefully you were able to get some ideas out of ways that you can use technology tools to enhance computational thinking for your students and the ability to analyze and interpret data. Next month, we'll wrap up our 3-part series taking a look at the next generation science practices, and we'll take a look at how students can present their findings and how they can engage in argument based on evidence that they've found.